And hello, welcome to this video. So the last video we were right here, okay, somewhere like this here. We have a testing IXml library loader. The test didn't work, obviously. However, behind the scenes of this video, I actually already made a code that actually works. Okay, how to actually bring up XElements and everything. But I haven't presented all this on video, so I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to just throw the whole code at you. Okay, we'll just start where we left off here. Remember, we were saying we want to compare our code results to some sort of a string, like this string right here. Okay, we deem the result string as string. We get the XMLData as an XDocument, and then we have our XML library loader. XMLData get XDocument, and as you can see, it's a very complicated test, but well, we have somewhat of little choice. Okay, somewhat of a little choice because how else are we supposed to test whether, test for equality for this IXml library loader, right? It's supposed to get an XDocument, all right? Yeah, and it's not like we want to compare every single bit of data in this file against each other. That's not the best way of doing things. I mean, we can do it, but do I want to do it? No. Okay, I don't really want to do it. It's just too much data right here to deal with. So yeah, we'll need to manipulate the data in order to test it. Or yeah, let's just stick with doing that for the time being. All right. Now, okay, let's check out how before we start doing this XElement list and dealing with stuff in the XElement. I mean, there's a lot of ways here, documentation here on how to deal with XElements. I will walk through that with you, at least to the extent that I know. I'll do that later. All right. First thing first is how do we get our this whole XML file loaded in? Okay, how do we get this whole XML file loaded in? Okay, there are a few ways, right? XDocument actually has a load method. Okay, if you take a look here, what the load method does, you can load from a stream or a text reader, or you load a string. Okay, creates new XDocument from a file. Okay, this is a method. It's the XDocument load method. What does it load? Okay, it loads the URI. It's a little bit like URL for internet, but this is like a file path or something like that. Okay, you have to specify the file path to the actual XML file that you are wanting to reference. Right, so my XML file is right here under this dependency, so pwd print working directory. You'll see that this IXml loader, this thing is actually under the dependencies folder, this dwsim.xml. Okay, so how do you access this file? Okay, so we have to actually specify the manual what do you call that? Specify this path over here, and you feed it into you feed it as a string into this XDocument load method. Find the file path, load the thing, and do it manually in order to load this XML file. Okay. Now, is there a way to do it? Using a relative file path, meaning to say, yeah, instead of using a concrete string like this to say, okay, I want the file path of my XML file, do I have to provide all these strings manually? The answer is no. However, I found that it's very inconvenient. Okay, very inconvenient to try this thing out. Okay, there's a very specific reason why. Okay, let's see, do I have my unit tests? Okay, I think I saved all the things under another class. Okay, let's go XML file path string. Okay, I loaded all the things here into the XML file path string. I can show you some of the ways that I use to try and load this thing. Well, I shouldn't use Vim, I should use nerd3 to open this up. Let's go up a directory, up two directories, IXML file path string. I'll give you this assembly file loader. Okay, so this is how you use some of the classes, system reflection assembly. Okay, and then use the assembly.getAssembly file to get this current file path. Okay, what is a current file path? That what is this? What's the purpose of this, right? Okay, these few lines of code here, from right here. Okay, let me go and highlight it for you. So it's over here what I'm highlighting. Alright, so that these few lines of code, the whole job is to try and return a file path of where this code is being executed from. Okay, now let's I'm going to load this into the test, and then you see whether this thing you be the judge, see whether this thing actually works. So I'm going to try this file path thingy. It's a bit complicated. Okay, undo to. Okay, open new line. There you go. Let's do fact sub file what is this called? IXML file path string test. IXML file path string test. Okay. And then I'll have undo this, and I'll end sub here. Okay, so let's use all of these things. Okay, dim assembly as system reflected assembly. Okay, blah blah blah, and I'll just do a console write line of this assembly location. Yank this. I'll paste it here. Oh, I can't do that. Ah, great. Never mind. Okay, let's just write it manually. Dim assembly. Okay, so this is one of the ways. To return the current file path, is to use the system reflection namespace and use the assembly method. Okay, dim sm as system.reflection.assembly. Okay, assembly equals assembly.assembly get me. So this is a static method. Don't worry about what that is first. It's just a way to get the file path. Okay, assembly. Okay, system.reflection.assembly.getAssembly. Okay, type me. Okay, what is type me? Type me is over here. Dim type me as type. Type me equals to me.getType. So this is remember me is actually the instance of this class that you're talking about. Dim type me as type me equals to me.getType. Okay, what is me? Me is this specific instance of this class. So what are we doing here to get the file path of this to get so-called relative file paths? Okay, so we are trying to get the file path of wherever this assembly or wherever this code is executing from. To get that, we use the system reflection assembly method. Okay, you don't have to know this because I'm eventually not going to use this method to return this XML file, but yeah, this was one of the most basic ways, right? You find the file path of the XML document, you load it into the XDocument, and then you're supposed to get an XDocument loaded from there. So this was what I tried. Okay, so the way to use system reflection assembly to get the file path is to first get the type of the class that is executing this code. So that's what this dim type me as type is doing here. I'm getting the type of this class. I'm using the system reflection assembly namespace or method. Okay, and I'll use a get assembly static method here to get the assembly based on the type of the class that's executing this code. Okay, if that doesn't make sense to you, you can go read it up. I'm not going to explain it because that's not the focus of this video. The focus of this video is to see no matter what methods I use to try to get the file path, it doesn't give us an easy solution to get the file path in order to get our XML file. So let's write console.writeLine, okay, sm.location. Okay, the location of this assembly is the file path where the DLL is being executed. Okay, let's try .NET test. All right. Hey. I misspelled assembly, so pardon me. Get yeah, I again misspelled assembly. 3 up. Okay. Pardon that. Okay, so that test is successful. Okay, that test is successful. Okay, and you look, this is the file path that is returned. Blah 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 documents, netcore sim. Okay, it's inside the binary folder, debug net 6.0 unit test, netcore dwsim xml libraries.dll. It's a very long file path. And where is okay, so this is the file path of where it's coming from. This thing is actually chucked into the binary, the bin debug net 6.0. Okay, let me show you where that is. Okay, so go up, go to bin, go to debug, go to where is it? Whole blah blah blah. Oh, it's under the unit tests. Okay, so let's go to unit tests now. Okay, this is the unit test one. cd unit test. Okay, go to bin, go to debug, go to net 6.0, and then you will find your DLLs all being put here. Okay, so your DLL is over here. See, netcore dwsim xml libraries.dll. Alright, and unit test netcore dwsim libraries xml libraries.dll. So this was the unit test one. So that's where this unit test file path is. Now, what do you then have to do? You have to navigate up to the next 6.0, navigate up debug, navigate up to bin, navigate up to unit test, navigate up to dwsim.net core libraries. So navigate, and just to get our simple XML file, it's not a very simple task in this case. Okay, and you have to navigate all the way up. Okay, I'm going to do ls navigate 4 folders up, go to the dwsim xml libraries folder, dwsim thermodynamics, assets, databases, and everything, just to get a dwsim xml. Okay, so even if I could get a relative file path thing going on, and it's possible to code for sure, but do I want to spend all this effort just finding all the file path? Okay, finding this proper file path, or is there a simpler way to load in the XML files? Okay, so after basically a day or two of trying to get this file path thing, I just decided to give up on it because it is way too complex a thing just to get a simple XML file. Okay, is there a simpler way to do this? Answer is yes. Okay, so let me give you an idea that I have. Okay, so you look at XDocument, right? XDocument actually allows you to load in XML directly, right? Okay, where is or rather hey, yeah, XDocument has the way load XML, if I'm not wrong. Load XML. Does it have a load XML? Okay, it's a load kind of option. Yeah, let's see. Okay, I didn't use that method. Okay, let's say, okay, I'll just tell you my idea first and what I did. Okay, so let's ls, I'll go to buffer1 dwsim xml. Now I notice all this XML, oops, yeah, I notice all this XML on the right here. These are just, if you just combine all of these things, it's just basically a very, very long string, right? If this is a very long string, and you know, why not I just load this, copy and paste this entire string and declare this whole XML data here as a string variable. Okay, so that's what I was thinking, right? And why was I thinking about this? Because I wanted all this XML data to be published into eventually my NuGet package. And and the thing about packing NuGet packages is that they don't tend to involve, or how do you say, include these XML files unless you have to specify it. And to specify this, specify that you want to include these XML files, that's another few sets of settings that you have to do and learn. So the way instead I decided to do is just to create a class, and inside that class I will just copy and paste this whole XML data here, and I'll load it manually into an XDocument as using strings or whatever. So it's a very brute force method. Okay, so yeah, here's what I did. Okay, here's what I did. So let's go to netcore dwsim xml libraries, IXml library loader, IXml library loader. Go to dependencies here. You see the dwsim.xml, cat dwsim.xml. So this is all the XML files here. Okay, this dwsim XML file was that. And what I did, simply, let me open the nerd tree here. Nerd tree. Okay, I saved this entire XML file on the right. I made a copy. Oh, sorry. I made a copy of it, and then I loaded it into a Visual Basic file. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. So this is my Visual Basic file, and my entire XML library on the right here is being loaded into this. It just becomes a string. Okay, it just becomes a string. Right. So let me show you the process. Okay. Okay. So pretend I did not load the file just yet. Okay, pretend I didn't load the file just yet. What I did is that I copied the dwsim.xml file, and I made a file called dwsim.xml.vb. Okay, this is this file right here. Okay, but since I'm not going to override it, I'm just going to demonstrate it as a dwsim.xml.demo.vb. So this is just for your information how I did it. So I made this I copied this entire XML file over here into dwsim.xml.demo.vb. Okay, so this is the XML file that I have, and I'm going to do a nerd tree. I'm going to open the ones that I already did on the other side. Let me exit the terminal. I don't need a terminal. I'll v-split this up. Okay, I'll ls and I'll go to buffer1. Okay, so this is me converting the entire XML, copying the entire XML file over, and it just becomes a Visual Basic file, right? So what do I do with all this XML data, right? Because once I load this XML data in as a Visual Basic file, I do not need to worry about pathing and anything. I can just load it into my library straight away. Okay, so this is what I did. Okay, I made a new class. Okay, public class, new class, right? I made a new class here, and end class, or rather I'll press Shift G and I'll go all the way to the bottom, and then I'll say end class. Okay, this is where I get my thing, right? And then I can just shift it to number 1. It will do this. All right. Now then, what do I do with this? Okay, this thing I need to load it as a string, right? I need to load it as a string, right? Import. Okay, let's see. Yes. So the way I did it, as you see on the left hand side here, I loaded this entire XML file. I loaded into a document. Okay. So I'll load this. Okay. Public sub load string. Okay, this is where I started. Okay, and I actually made another interface for this IXmlData. Okay, I made an interface for IXmlData because I want the loose coupling, but I'll skip that part first. I'll just tell you how I did the concrete implementation. Okay, so this public subload string will be this, and will be basically returning this entire document right here. I'll put this here, end sub right here, 1 2 3 4. I'll go to the beginning. Okay, so what do I do with this string? Okay, I will dim XML string as string. Okay, and I'll say XML string equals to whatever this is here. Okay, I'll use the double parentheses here as first, a double apostrophe here. I'll go to the bottom, and I'll go to the end. I'll put this apostrophe mark. Okay, you'll find that this thing actually has a problem. Okay, let's try .NET build. You'll find that this thing has a problem. You have 83 errors right here. Why is it so? It says character constant must contain exactly 1 character. Now why is there a problem with using this double apostrophes here on the right hand side? As you can see over here in this XML file, there's so many of these folders and files using double apostrophes or double open inverted commas and close inverted commas. So you cannot use this because if you go to the top here, you see this double apostrophe here. It will kind of confuse the code, confuse the compiler what you're trying to do. Why are there so many of these little apostrophe things here? Are you trying to break up the whole code into like 83 bits of string? Because this will denote the start of a string, this will denote the end of a string, this will denote another start of a string, this will denote another end of a string. So it ends up that the code, the compiler there is very confused. So to avoid the confusion, I will just, instead of using the double apostrophe, I will use the single apostrophe or single open inverted comma. So I will use it like that, and I'll go to the beginning, and hopefully this will work. Okay, so look at this. The string thing actually works. The string thing actually works. So I'm able to load this entire XML thing as a string. Okay, so this is the string I want to return. So I want to return the XML string, right? Okay, return XML string, and I'll go to the beginning. Okay, return XML string, and maybe I'll call this XML string loader, CRW, XML string loader. Okay, no interface, no nothing. Okay, so no interface, no nothing, because I'm just going to delete everything. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, I do a .NET build again. Okay, Right. Oh. Hey. It says a return statement in a sub or set cannot return a value. Okay. So a subroutine cannot return anything. Okay. Okay. It cannot return anything, so maybe I will use instead a function. And I want to return a string here. Function load string as string. And then I'll look for n sub. And then I'll go use the crw n function. Okay, and the build is succeeded. Now let's try to print out this string inside our test. Okay. So I'm not going to use the file path test anymore. I'll go back, insert here, and yeah, I will not run this test exactly. Okay, so over here I'll change in this one. I'll say file dwsim xml string test. Okay, so this is a very brute force way of doing it. Let's see what kind of XML string it returns. So what's the class I need to instantiate? Okay, go up or go to 0. Okay, XML string loader. Okay, and let's see whether we are in the right namespace. Go all the way up. Yeah, we are using the netcore dwsim xml library, which is the correct namespace. It's the root namespace of the entire folder. So look for this XML string loader. Okay, dim XML string loader object as XML string loader. So it does what it says. It loads an XML string. Convert here, replace with here, correct that typo. XML string loader equals new XML string loader object equals to new XML string loader. Alright, dim XML string as string, and XML string equals to XML string loader object dot do what? We will use the load string method here. Okay, load string. Okay, and then console write line XML string. Alright, and let's do a dotnet test. Okay. Go to unit test and dotnet test. Okay. I loaded two equal signs by accident. Okay, so one of them failed. Oh, right. I need to change this. Okay, so this thing actually passes, and let's not do every other test. Let's skip every other test so that you can see whether yeah, I want to skip every other test. Yeah, I will only be doing this test because I basically commented out all the other fact keywords down there. So let's try that. Okay, can you take a look? I basically loaded the entire file as an XML file. Okay, not exactly what I want. If you take a look, there's no more separation. It looks like a random string of numbers. So this may not be a good way to do this. Okay. So what did I do instead? Instead of loading this entire thing as a string here, I loaded this entire thing as an XML document. So let's go up. Imports system.xml system.link .xml, and yeah, let's exit this thing here, vsplit, ls b4. Okay, system xml link, and this thing, instead of loading it as a string, I shall load it as an XML document. So change this into XDocument. Okay, load, instead of a load string, I will say load XDocument. Okay, and this is what I do here. XDocument as CRW XDocument. Okay, and then I'll change this thing here, CRW, into the XDocument right here, and go to the bottom, press capital G, and that should be able to do it. Open terminal, and let's see whether this thing can build. .net build. Alright, so the demo.vb XML string is not defined. Yeah, of course it is not defined now, I just removed it. CRW XDocument. Okay, now it's complaining now. It's now complaining. It says XElement cannot be converted into XDocument. So this type here is not actually XDocument, it's actually XElement. So you'll go to the top. So this is the XElement, not XDocument. So this is line 10, yeah? So instead of this as XDocument, this has become XElement. So dim XL as XElement. So we'll just follow the type, right? This thing becomes XL, and then we'll go to the bottom. Okay, and then we'll say yeah, let's take a look at XDocument and see how we can construct it using some XElement or something. Okay, but okay, basically the idea is, instead of converting it into a string, we convert it instead into XDocuments and XElements, right? The basic idea is to load this entire file right here, into an XElement or XDocument, then we work from there. So let me show you what I did, instead of wasting your time to try and code everything from scratch and figure things out. Figure things out slowly. So let me show you what my solution is. I'm going to remove this DWSim XML demo. And let's open DWSim XML.vb. Okay, this is what I did. Take a look here. I loaded this entire string into an XDocument. Okay, and let me also delete this part. Okay, but this part I'm not going to use anymore. Okay, so loading it into a string may not be the best idea. Now you can take a look here. String data is all this data is encapsulated in a load XDocument method. So this is what I was doing, except I do a few more good things, like, you know, implement an interface even for this class. Yeah, always I adopt this solid methods. I always want to have these classes implement an interface so that we can promote loose coupling. Okay, so this is the entire XDocument right here, which I loaded in all the data manually into a class or into the method here. So you can see this XDocument here, this XDoc equals to new XDocument, and then I load this entire thing here, like XML version, blah blah blah. Okay, I go to the bottom, and then after that, yes, I end up right here. So if you go to the top, what do I have? Okay, I have a property right here. I have a property which is this XDocument property. Okay, and I have a method called loadXdoc. Okay, loadXdoc just loads this property. This property here is called XDocument, or XDoc as XDocument. This is XDocument is the type, of course. XDoc is over here. So XDoc will be declared over here when we start, and this public sub new here, this is a constructor. So once you instantiate this class, me.loadXdoc will run. Okay, me is like self or that kind of keyword, which is the it refers to this instance of the class, and I'm basically running the loadXdocument subroutine, which is this thing here. Okay, what does loadXdocument subroutine do? It just says this XDocument, okay, me.XDocument, which is actually this XDocument right here, equals to new XDocument. So we are making a new XDocument, and what will be inside this XDocument? It will be all of this data right here. And I go all the way to the bottom. Okay, all the way to the bottom, excuse me. Yeah, all the way to the bottom, and it says yes, I'll just load all these things, all these X elements as XDocuments, right? And what I do, I go to the top, and yeah, so once we load this new XDocument, this new XDocument will then be loaded into XDoc right here. XDoc is right here, right? XDoc is right here. So we load all of this data into XDoc, and then what happens after that? You can just load XDoc as and how you wish. Okay, we will, and this is how I did my loader test. Okay, see, I have my XML library loader object as IXml library loader, dim xdoc as xdocument, dim xml document as xmldoc as xml document. Wait, and oh right, sorry, I should go up one more. Okay, this is the IXmlDataMethodsTest. So what I did here is I made a concrete class. But this concrete class, actually I want to make it implement an interface. So let's take a look at the interface. So when I have a concrete class, I always want to have an interface. Okay, this interface is very simple. It just has a property called xdoc as xdocument. It loads the xdocument. So these are the only two things you actually need to implement. Okay. So I implemented the dispose method. That one's iDisposable implementation. This class implements the IXmlData, which I just showed you just now. Okay, XDocument here will implement this IXmlData XDocument, that specific property, whereas this method here, public sub load XDocument, implements IXmlData.load XDocument. And what does it do? It just loads this entire thing here. Okay, how do I test it? Okay, well, you see this IXmlData, which was what I showed you just now, that new interface, which is before this interface, this is the interface for the IXmlData, which is just me copying and pasting the entire DWSim XML into a Visual Basic file. Okay, and then not only do I make a class for it, I also make an interface for it. Okay, so IXmlData is here, XMLData object as IXmlData, and what do I do here? This XMLData object equals to new DWSim component XMLData. So if you take a look at this B1 here, buffer 1, B1. Okay, there you go. This class is called DWSim component XMLData, and what the function of this class is to do, the function of this class is just to hold all this information right here, convert it into an XDocument, and that XDocument is just loaded into this property, which we can then access. So this is what this IXmlDataMethodsTest is. Okay, I load this XML data object, which is of the type IXmlData. XML data object will be a new DWSim component XML data. I run the load XDocument thing, and then I do a console write line on it. Because this one is kind of unnecessary because I did a constructor, but it's still better to do it this way because not every implementation I have will use this constructor that has this load XDocument immediately there. So XMLData.object.xDocument, you can just print this out, and let me show you how this will work. Okay, I'll do a dotnet test, and remember the only test I did was to go for this IXmlDataMethodsTest. Okay, and you see that this whole XDocument here is loaded for us. Okay, so this is my way of working around how to load XDocuments in the first place. Okay, instead of loading XML files directly using a file path, which may be kind of troublesome, if you're not going to change any of the data in there, why not just copy and paste everything, format it as a Visual Basic file, and then save it. Okay, that's one very crude workaround, but it works. Okay, what are the pros and cons? As of now, I'm not completely sure. I just know I know that when you instantiate this class, it will take up a lot of memory because I'm loading the whole XDocument thing into memory. Yeah, but other than that, what else does it do? Okay, it should still be okay, right? Because I need the data there anyway. Right? I need the data there anyway. So yeah, so that's what I do. Instead of using the file path to load the XML document, I save the XML document into the whole XML document. I will save it into a Visual Basic file, or if you want to do C#, then do it into a C# file or any of your native coding files. I load it as an XDocument, and then that's it. I start running tests on it. So yeah, that is how I load this do this test, right? You can see on the left hand side, beautiful results. I have all my ideal gas heat capacities, constant. Well, this last component here is methyl ethyl ketone, works perfectly. Okay, so I've managed to load the entire thing in, and then when I compile this file, when I pack it into a NuGet package, it's automatically included. Okay, if you don't need to edit anything, it is perfectly fine to do it this way. Alright, it's a very brute force method, but it works. Okay, so that's all. That's how I do it. And of course, that means for every other library, every other DWSim library, okay, every other DWSim library here, DWSim, yeah, CD asset databases, all these DWSim libraries here, ChemSet1, ChemSet2, all these XML files can be loaded into here pretty much the same way. Okay, I load it into a class which has a method that will just load this entire XML string into a property and use that property there straight away as an XDocument. After that, it should be pretty straightforward if you know how to work with XDocuments anyway to extract the data. Alright, so that's all I have. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.